So at this time, you've lost your Trident, you're out of the Navy. I'm curious, did you ever think about, I know you were disappointed in yourself, but did it take up a lot of mental space thinking about what other people were thinking about in regards to your life?
No, I didn't have time. It wasn't that I was all wrapped up in myself. I was sad for having ruined opportunities. I was mad at myself for not being able to go on that next deployment because we were gearing up to go to Iraq again. I was right at the tail end, about ready to go again. And so I was, sad to be out of the platoon, but I really took that energy and focused right into, where I was walking next to, because I didn't process it though, which is different. Turning away from it and processing it are two different things. And I had totally turned away from it and been like, well, that's done, and didn't really own it, and went into residential real estate development, working as a supervisor. We did a lot of huge, massive projects. I had my relationship with the same girl that I had been on that date with, and so I had come back and we're living together. And so I started this whole new life, but now with the governor off and no checks and balances, I'm taking Adderall, smoking weed every day, Xanax at night to kind of chill out, but I'm working, not during work. Right? Adderall in the morning to get going and crushing work, and then coming back and smoking weed and sipping, because why not? It's I'm not training for anything, but I would be sipping vodka in the gym, doing, in my shaker. It was reasonable to me in some capacity. I don't know. I would always had my thing. If it was 5 o'clock here, type thing, right after work. And then about a year after that, then I start taking painkillers, right? Fentanyl too, if I could get it, right? And so now I'm working for a venture capitalist in a different venture, pitching decks, doing stuff in the cannabis industry and building out a facility and trying to do all these things and moving and shaking, or thinking I am, but having terrible habits, right? And the speed wobbles start to kind of get super strong.
And I understand how a lot of people may do cocaine or Adderall for, productive reasons, but getting into the painkillers and stuff, what gave you that idea?
Brother, I'll tell you exactly the moment when I did. So the relationship was very tumultuous. And so people that know, if you're in a tumultuous, chaotic relationship, it's all consuming, and it really takes a lot of bandwidth. And so this was up and down. And I'm not saying anyone's at fault. I'm saying probably me more at fault. I wasn't living, as men, we lead from the front. If we're not living our best life, dude, it trickles down from us. And so I was very emotionally responsive and just not correct. And we had broken up, and now it's everything's taken out of the house. And I remember being in my car and hurting so much. People say, oh, I got into painkillers because I hurt myself. Dude, I didn't. I got into it because I wanted to get high. 100%. I did not get into it because I hurt myself and got addicted. I got addicted because I wanted to get addicted, right? Not wanted to get addicted, but wanted that feeling. So I called my drug dealer. I'm like, hey, dude, do you have any stuff? He said, yeah. And so, because I had been in that world, I knew a lot of people in that world. And so I did, man. And took the Percocets and and I would do that at night just to kind of taper off. Not all day, and I wasn't doing them, just a little. That's the lie. That's how the devil gets itself into you. It's it's just a little bit, dude. Who cares, right? It's not, you're still going to work, you're still doing really well, and I was on this upward trajectory in another capacity. Now I'm in a high rise, doing well, and that went on for about a year. So I'm doing all that stuff every day for about a year, and not sleeping a lot. Now the speed wobble started coming back. That relationship had come back. Now there's a lot of investments and things coming in, and I was trying to do a lot, trying to do too much, and I just crashed and burned, dude. Just pretty much just psychologically crashed. The relationship was done. It would all just crumbled as it does, and I left the situation, was pretty much fired and told to leave in not so many words.
So what was the straw on the camel's back specifically?
Dude, I did a line, and I was on kind of a work trip area, was on doing some stuff, but I hit my head. my girl comes in, I'm bleeding, she's yelling, now I go to the ER, I get stitched up, and it, not that caused something specifically, but it was just the wrong people knew, and now they're like, dude, this dude's losing it. Now he's like falling and hitting himself, and you know, I look like a fucking pincushion with all the scars all over my face from all the stuff in my life, but that was it. It was like, okay, man, and the VC boss at the time, he goes, dude, you were an asset, now you're a liability. And that was a really powerful thing that I have remembered since that moment. Dude, I felt like I wanted to cry, dude, when I heard that, because as maybe I have some insecurity in me or something, or like I always want to be valuable to people and I don't want to be disliked. You know, I definitely probably have that. And hearing that you're a liability, man, you're not even an asset. He goes, you were my biggest asset and now you're my biggest liability. I was like, just crushed, and separated myself from that situation. I was like, I got to kind of change what I'm doing. And I left the city and went to a different place. I actually went to the big island of Hawaii, where he's like, you know, hold tight, and then we might have some other business, you know, ventures for you to get into for us out there. Never came to fruition. And so then I'm just out there and I run out of money and find myself homeless in my car like 3 months later.
On the big island.
On the big island, man, in the jungle, man, way down there by the volcanoes erupting. And I had gotten off the painkillers by design. I separated myself to where I had no, and kind of some interesting spiritual experiences out there. I don't know if I was losing my mind or maybe gaining it, but I got off the first month of the first week I was there, and dude, that was rough. People who have gotten off that had it. I thought I wasn't addicted, dead serious. I had these like few days where I wouldn't do them, but I would have these like withdrawal symptoms, but I didn't know what they were, right? I just wasn't really like connecting the dots. Now I was about a week in and I'm like 3, 4, 5 days, no sleep. I could not sleep. My body was just wanting to crawl out of its skin. And I'm trying to do everything to, you know, weather the storm. Finally come out of it, have some clarity, body starts healing. I'm still sipping on vodka pretty much every day and doing Adderall and stuff, but shed that part. And purposeless. This was a really painful time in my life, actually. This was one of the most painful chunks of time I've ever had in my life, was actually there. You can be in heaven and be in absolute hell. You know, I was in Hilo, Hawaii, so I'm living out there. I'm kind of waiting for the next thing, and emails kind of get cut off, and now I'm changed my phone number to just, and now I'm alone, man. And it wasn't so much the isolation as what was I doing? Like, where was I building? I mean, I just was waiting for something that wasn't coming, and I had this moment where I went, dude, why don't I go in the Foreign Legion? I had this moment, I go, what? And I look around and I had this like well of hope come into me of like, oh, dude, there's nothing holding me back. I got no kids. I would have gone to the Legion before, but I had a girlfriend and a job. So I thought it was kind of irresponsible. Now I'm like, dude, I don't have nothing now. Oh, and then I went, okay, I'm going to put that on the side. And that if I don't have some things organized by this date, then I'm going to go. And I did. Well, I ended up setting it there. And in that time, dude, I was like having these guidances to like the Bible and seeing scriptures in places. I don't know if I was losing it or what, dude, but I had this stuff guiding me to the book of Enoch. I didn't know what it was. And then I felt like there was people I was encountering that were in, it was wild. I still to this day think back, dude, and I've really tried to analyze that, and I still haven't come to like a real answer about it. But I was having some really powerful moments. There was something transformative happening, and I had this vision of I actually had met this homeless kid, and it was right when I got off of the painkillers and stuff. I stopped to just ask him if he had some weed. This is why. I go, hey, dude, do you have any weed? He goes, yeah, I have some dabs or whatever. He goes, can you give me a ride? I said, yeah, well, you give me a ride. Where do you need to go? He goes, dude, I got to go way up to this like taro farm, right? Way up in this valley. He goes, do you need 4-wheel drive though to get there? I'm like, all right, dude. And so by chance that morning, I had a rental car and I went, dude, I want to go get something 4-wheel drive. dead serious. And I went down and they changed me out for a 4-wheel drive Nissan truck. I picked this guy up. He goes, you got to go down there. And he took me down into Waipeo Valley. People that are familiar, it's the steepest residential street in all of the United States. It's steep. You can't even drive down it anymore. It's illegal. People who don't live down there. And I was going down this thing and it's pitch black. Mind you, it's like midnight. And I'm going, oh man, dude. And I'm like, where am I going? Go down and then it's like quiet. I hear this river going. We drive across this river. I drop them off for the night. But on the way there, he gave me LSD. Gave me a tab of LSD. And I'm going, let's give it to me, man. Whatever. And so I take it. Dude, I had a like vision from, people call it whatever they want, but I had this crazy vision of like my tattoos getting finished, Foreign Legion going, and like all this stuff tying in. And then when I got back to my apartment, I was seeing this stuff again and again, and I'm like, still clear, not like out of my mind, but just like, okay. And then I knew what I needed to do. I knew what I needed to do. And when it all came crashing down and I'm in this, but I had kind of forgotten it after a couple months, right? That stuff, I'm like, I know I'm going to Foreign Legion, but you know, let me try to figure out my life type thing. Now I'm homeless in my car. I have a sawed-off shotgun next to me. Talk about a low point. No money, no anything, no food, no water. I just sat in my car and walked around and thought about killing myself or how I'm going to do this or just how terrible I felt and have nothing. And I realized, dude, had that moment of clarity from God going, dude, this is your fault, fix it. Don't leave destruction in your pathway, in your wake to your mom, your sister, because you made a bunch of selfish choices. Nut up, grab your nuts, get going. And I went, all right, I'm gonna join the Foreign Legion. This is the time. So that's what I did, man. I called my mom. I had like gas on E, $6 in my account. I didn't want to drive my car because I didn't want it to like run out of gas. And so I had just been sitting there waiting for like a phone call or something, and it never came. But the call I got was from God, dude. And it was, dude, sack up, go handle some shit, go get yourself cleaned up. I smelled like a homeless guy. And that's what I did, man. I told my mom, hey, I have a plan. I don't want you to worry, but I'm at a rock bottom. But if this is a rock bottom, this is probably about as good as a rock bottom as you could have, right? So I took some fast cash loans out and organized my life and took a flight to France, man.